I'm Freya. I'm 23, so I'm like you guys, but less of a go-getter, I think. More of like a sit-at-homer and freak out about the world. Also, I work for Wendy as an editor, and also I'm a writer. Wendy often introduces me as a playwright. Actually, I write poems principally. I write plays kind of desperately, and I write juvenile fantasy fiction aspirationally. I haven't done it yet, but it's going to happen. Get ready, world. Okay, I just such good speeches, right? Oh, everyone's so interesting, and I love it. And I'm just thinking about what Catherine said about how much of myself I can bring to you, and I feel like I'm definitely not going to bring my whole self to you. I'm trying a bit. I even wore my docs, which I felt kind of badass about because it's treasury, and I feel like, like, don't wear your docs to treasury, Freya, but I did it anyway. I don't know, like I feel like I really feel you, Solomon, because I feel like a bit of a weird fish out of water here. Like I feel like I come in the doors and something changes, and then I'm like, who am I and why am I here? The only reason that I'm here is that I work for Wendy and Wendy thinks I'm cool. I think I'm cool too, so we're on the same page, so that's good. But I just want to say, like, I'm not an expert on anything except maybe starting to become an expert on my own lack of understanding of anything. And also, I have quite good self-knowledge, I reckon. That's another thing I'm building my expertise about. But other than that, I can't even get to the end of all my thoughts a lot of the time. So I just want you to know that and take everything I say with like several grains of salt. Okay, so I'll just say I work as an editor and I'm a writer, and it's so weird. I'm like sitting on this fence and I've got a very uncomfortable wedgie between like editing as like restricting language and finding the rules and adhering to rules and writing as like exploding language. I want to do that in that way. So I'm really interested in language. I'm not an expert, but I just have a very strong interest in it. I think about it all the time. So I'm talking about the futures of language. Language evolves constantly, right? Oxford adds new words every year, such as manspreading, hangry, and bay, which is important. Some people find that weird and dumb, but I find those people weird and dumb because like they're not there to be like Oxford Dictionary is not there to be like language is still and this is how it is. They're there to record and hold sort of history through how language changes, right? So language is constantly changing. People, like, oh my God, I heard some high schoolers the other day. I'm only 23. Like, I still feel like a teenager. I heard some high schoolers talking words I just didn't know. Slang is like fashion, and it just changes all the time. And that's super interesting and great. So language, this is a thing. Language is evolving constantly, and that's great. But there's sometimes things happen that kind of make it change really fast, really rapidly. So examples. I'm talking about English mainly because that's our shared language. I suppose I should say, like I have some. I studied French, and until I studied French for quite a while. So I feel like that's my other little bit of information about my interest in language. So in English, there was the Norman invasion. The French came in, and suddenly we have like basic words as sort of like the Saxon words, right? And then we have fancy French words, and so we've still got all these fancy words now from French. So Norman invasion changes English very dramatically. Shakespeare invents a bazillion words. That's not the exact figure, but he invented so many. And we still use them, and he just, whoa, imagine if there was another Shakespeare. Like, I don't even know if it could happen. It probably wouldn't be, he probably wouldn't be able to be like a playwright. It would have to be some kind of different, it would have to have a different medium, but a writer who exploded language, right? What if that happened? What if that happened again? I don't know. Would it? I don't know. Okay, the advent of the printing press, suddenly spelling becomes regulated, and because before everyone, like, Shakespeare spelled his name like several different ways. Imagine if you just, okay, what? Like, spelling becomes regulated. Before that, there were like several different spellings of all words. It didn't really matter. You just got the vague sound of it, and people got it for somehow. I don't even know how that works. And now it's like skip to the present / 10 years ago / 20 years ago. Internet, cell phones. We start using text language. We start. We adjust the way we use punctuation. Like, I get really nervous. I used to nanny, and I get really nervous if the lady whose kids I nannied would enter text with a full stop. I'd be like, I'm running 5 minutes late, sorry. And she's like, that's okay. Like, you know? I think she's really pissed off with me. And then I get there and she's like, hi, like, this is all fine. But she didn't say that, but that's what I'm getting from it. And then the other people that I talk to who are my age, you know, I'm like, if they use a full stop at the end of a text, they are pissed off with me. And it's very clear. So that's adjusting things, okay? Now I'm going to talk about my 3 ideas. I want to start by talking about what if there is a drastic change in the way language and communication is taught in schools. So in New Zealand, something that I think would be great is if it's compulsory to teach te reo in primary schools. Like, that seems kind of like, it just seems like common sense to me, right? Right? It just seems like it's our national language as well as English and sign language. What if we taught sign language as well? Maybe, I don't know. That would be great. So I think it's so important to learn other languages in any kind of, to any level, right? Because languages are the carriers of culture, and if you can get any kind of a glimpse into another language, that's just a whole different way of looking at the world. And I think as a further step from that, I think in teaching languages, translation is really important. Learning French in high school, I didn't do translation until 400 level, actually. I didn't do it at all through high school. I didn't do it in my undergrad French time. And so then I got to translation, I was like, suddenly looking through, it forces you to look at language in such a different way, and it's bizarre because you suddenly realize that translation is kind of impossible, right? Like, there are untranslatable things, and translation, I think, is kind of both impossible and completely necessary, because, like, the more you can, it's actually like taking on that lens that you get from learning another language and using it to, this is a little bit inarticulable, which I'm going to get to. Basically, I think translation's really important. Putting on different goggles to just examine life. Also, within that, I don't even think I got taught very much how to use grammar at school, but I think grammar should be taught, and it should be taught well, but it should kind of be taught like religions are taught. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people believe this, right? You know, you should see, like, there is this way that some people prefer to communicate, but why not with the comma, you know? That's... Yeah, yeah. So I feel like, what if there's a drastic change in the way that we teach children about communication, not how to communicate, but just about ways of communicating, and invite them to just screw with that in ways that make them feel comfortable with their own language, you know? So that's my first idea. My second idea is revolution at the level of language rather than slow evolution. What happens, because I see this thing a lot, and I think about it a lot, especially since working as an editor, about ways that English, I'm going to talk about English, ways that English excludes people, or lowers people. So a really good example of this is, like, there's been a lot of conversation for some time about pronouns, and we're getting smarter, slowly, gradually, about respecting people's who need different pronouns than he or she, which are so narrow, oh my God. So language is needing to get wider, and people are needing to just get over this idea that there is this, like, you have to say his or her, you can't say their for one person. It's just bullshit, because he and she are third-person singular pronouns, right? People say there's no gender-neutral third-person pronoun. It's either he or she. And then people say you can't say their because it's plural. But we've got you, and that's, we have no plural you. We have no singular you. It's just you. So there is correct, okay? So if you take nothing else from this speech, you're allowed to say there for a singular person, and you should. Okay. What happens if people go, God damn, I'm pissed off with how language excludes me. Rise up. Screw with the language of the colonizer. Change it however you want. I know English and I learned French, like, they're just so colonial. So there are poets and there are writers doing this already. Chantal Spitz, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is a great Tahitian writer who just kicks French in the balls, you know, and it's great. And so I'm thinking of what happens when the people who are underrepresented at the level of the very language that they are taught to speak go, I'm not happy with this, and I will change it on a big scale. Whoop. So a revolution instead of just evolution. The last thing that I've been dreaming around, I've called visual languages and the inarticulable in self-expression. And I was thinking about this because I was thinking about talking on Facebook, and a lot of the time I'm talking to my friends mainly in Facebook stickers. Like, does anyone use Mim Mobile Girl? It's like so great. She's like, I feel like she's me, and everyone feels like she's them, and so she's so good at expressing things that we can't say in words. And so here's a thought I've had, right? We're all millennials, and we're all so desperate to be special and important, right? And we're like, oh God, you know, like people were talking about it yesterday. I want to change the world. I'm going to be, everyone's going to respect me because I'm me. What happens if in kind of a desperate bid for like honesty and truth of our own self-expression, we as millennials we cause some massive realignment, unalignment. What did I say? Misalignment. That's very, writer. That wasn't even a sentence, but I feel like it got across what I meant. What if we misalign spelling? What if we're like, no, this is how I want to spell this word? And what if emojis are in the dictionary? You know, they do a lot. They do a lot. I can say, because I have this kind of, like, tell you a secret. I'm quite like, and I'm a depressive, but I'm also very funny. And so sometimes when I'm texting my friends about my horror at existence, I'm like, lol, you know, this day, I'm so battered by this day, lol, smiley face. Little knowing wink, you know? So what if words become more visual? What if the shapes of words change? What if the shapes of letters change to express something more about ourselves that we currently can't do? I seriously entertained the thought of just coming up here and screaming for 5 minutes. In a beautiful marriage of form and content. Then I realised that's probably more like the future of my language and personal expression. It's not a holistic view, you know. So I'll just say, I'd like to see a world where people are speaking language that feels good in their mouths. No one is going to understand you if you don't understand yourself. Thank you for having me.